And as you slowly, gently, softly bring your awareness back to your body, I invite you to continue that flow from Kryon of the love channel and allow that to stay within the cellular structure of your body. And as you continue that flow of the love channel up through your body, if you've had your eyes closed, I invite you to open your eyes. And I'm going to ask you to stay centered in your heart as we interact with our next guest, because our next guest is all about creating an incredible, beautiful, loving coherence between the heart and the brain. And his name is Shamir Lahani. And I want to make sure Shamir's there with us. Shamir, are you there?
Hi, Lee and Monica. I'm here. Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Oh, well, it's a pleasure to have you. And not only are you a guest, but Shamir is a personal friend of Lee and I. And I know, Lee, you just want to tell everyone about him. So I'll let you do that.
I really do. Many of you know Shamir Lahani, if you followed the Kryon work at all from his time. Not only with us so many times, but also many, I don't know, knew he was a co-facilitator at a really cool event we used to have with Dr. Amber Wolf called the Discovery Series. So he's been with us doing so many things. He also has had many appearances on former streamed Kryon events. So Shamir is a Kryon presenting team member, and it's the first time you've seen him on this show. This is the Healing Wednesday show. I personally love this guy, really appreciate his ability to, I think his greatest strength is to simplify complex spiritual concepts and inspire participants to experience personal breakthroughs.
Now, Shamir is a certified emotional intelligence trainer, and he's a heart math coach and trainer. As the host of your Monday Morning Espresso Shot, don't you just love that title? It's a 15-minute live group coaching broadcast, and in that, he leads people through a heart-mind coherence building techniques each and every week.
Now, as an international speaker, and he is workshop facilitator and leadership trainer and transformational coach, Shamir dedicates his time to helping individuals transform their lives and achieve their personal and professional goals. He really does. Now listen to this, and this is what I like. He walks between two worlds because his work also includes guiding CEOs and business owners in growing their companies, establishing strategies, and enhancing their team relationships.
I think, Lee, you just got so excited because we love Shamir so much and you got your tangled tongue-tied. Yeah. His first approach focuses on the individual's mindset and removing the self-limiting behaviors. And then he moves on to support them in embodying their purpose and achieving their goals while improving their ability to lead others. Shamir, welcome to the show. We already know so much about you, but we'd love you to share your story, like how you went from Mr. Corporate Guy to developing heart math coherence.
Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction, Lee and Monica, and I love you too. I don't think you can love me more than I can love you. Let's just say we'll have a contest. But truly, I mean, this is what this particular topic is about, is how I left the corporate world, what caused me to exit the corporate world. And it had to do with beliefs. And that's the topic today. A belief, everyone has a set of beliefs. And some beliefs actually help you and others hinder you from experiencing a joyous life. And so what happened for me was I had a limiting belief, and I realized this very recently, that I had a limiting belief that said that if I don't make other people smile or laugh, then I am not worthy of their company, or I do not have self-worth. And so what I would do is, growing up, right from elementary school and beyond, I would crack jokes, even sometimes at my own expense, to have people laugh, just so I could feel good about getting acceptance by them, by their laughter. And so I developed this wonderful sense of humor, and it actually carried me through life. It was a beautiful belief system I had that allowed me to become more humorous and connect with people. So as it happened in my career, as my bosses would pat me on the back, I would get more juice going because my belief system was in play, and I would enjoy that, and I would get promoted. And in a short period of time, I got promoted to be an executive at a company, and I shot the lights out. I performed exceedingly well. I brought teams together that were falling apart. I mean, I did amazing things, and they recognized me until I got a boss who really appreciated me, but he never told me he appreciated me. He would always have this serious face and would never pat me on the back. And so what happened was, in my belief system, that was basically saying that you are not worthy, Shamir. This individual does not recognize you, therefore you cannot recognize yourself. And that happened in an emotional collapse that I went through. And I was making a lot of money. I had no problem. I had all the freedom in the world. I left all that behind and entered a period of self-reflection. I had no idea what belief systems were underpinning all of that. But what happened was I ended up just having to leave the job, left a lot of money on the table, and went on this journey and search. And that's when I came across Heart Math Institute and emotional intelligence and a body of literature. And you know, I was already following Lee and at that time and Amber Meliha Wolf. I was already following them. And, you know, there was a lot of inspiration that came forth from the Kryon teachings. So that's how I ended up in where I am. And where I'm now is I'm saying I've learned about myself. I've developed an ability to be able to actually identify and overcome limiting beliefs and moving to the next level. So that's my journey.
I love that you were able to identify a limiting belief of your value only came from people laughing at your jokes. However, it only happened when it stopped working for you. So how are you able to work with someone to find a limiting belief that's not as obvious?
Right.
No limiting beliefs are obvious until you bring it to the conscious level. And that's really the key here. It took me perhaps 7 years to overcome a particular limiting belief. And then the next time I did it, it took me 3-4 years. And then the most recent example took me about a minute. And it's because there's an actual, you know, Lee, you and Monica mentioned about my ability to simplify things and maybe linearize it a bit. And that's what I actually have done. I've linearized it and methodically developed a process. And I'd love to share with you at least the first step of that, because in the short amount of time.
Do it.
Let's do it now.
Yeah, let's do it now.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Totally, let's do it. So here's the thing. The first step is an emotional intelligence and heart math blending recipe of self-awareness. Self-awareness part is very important because a lot of most of our behavior is actually run on autopilot, and that's subconscious behavior. We sometimes don't even know we're being obtuse or rude to others. I mean, my boss, the one that I talked about, which I eventually left, I said to him one day, I said, you know, you're admonishing people around the table in public. That is inappropriate. And his eyes just lit up and said, oh my God, I had no idea. I really apologize. Like he was sincere in his apology. So some people are walking around not knowing that their personality has taken shape and is exuding this limiting behavior, which is underpinned by this limiting belief. And so to find that out is to actually become more self-aware. So the first step I would do, and I take people through this process, and I'd like to take the audience through that first portion of that first stage of uncovering this, bring it to the fore. And that is by placing your awareness in the area of the heart. This is the heart math part. So you place your awareness in the area of the heart, and now just begin to take very slow, very deep, and gentle breaths. So imagine them flowing in and out of your heart. Spend about 5 seconds of breath in if you can, and then exhale for 5 seconds outward. So as you inhale for 5 seconds in, imagine them flowing into your heart, and then exhale for 5 seconds. Imagine them flowing out of your heart. And you continue to do this, then do it for a few breaths, and now ask yourself, how do you feel now? More often than not, you will feel a lot more calmer, you will feel a lot more centered, then the question is, well, what were you before that? And if before that you were stressed out or not as calm and not as centered, you didn't really know that until you did this practice. And when you did this practice, you realize what the normal should be. This is the normal self. When you take those slow, deep breaths, it balances your autonomic nervous system, and that's the way your body will function. And HeartMath, body of knowledge says that 5 minutes of feeling appreciation will boost your immune system for up to 6 hours. So that's the first step of self-awareness, is that first you walk around and you practice this technique, and you'll automatically see, if you had a personality that was always snapping at somebody and you hadn't realized it, you will see a huge gap between that and what your new normal is going to be. That's the first thing. The second step of that first stage, and there's like 4 stages, but the second part of that stage is then monitoring yourself through this process. Just monitor yourself and see what your behavior is. And if you have an unwanted experience, log it, write it down. And over a period of the week, you will see that there's a pattern. And when the pattern comes up, you will make up all kinds of reasons why the behavior is happening. And that reason is going to be, it's because that person did that, that person did that. I'd like to share an example of how I was able to process this in a matter of minutes. It was just me diving deep in because of my practice and training. It was in Mount Shasta. I don't know, Lee, you and Monica must remember this. I was in Mount Shasta a few years back, and I was about to go on stage, and all of a sudden I found that my presentation was gone.
Yes.
And
yeah, we
right?
remember that.
remember
it's like
that.
a presenter's worst nightmare. You have everything prepared and the computer crashes.
That's right.
I mean, we were like speechless as to what happens next.
So this was 2 hours before I went on. I found this out. And so in that 2 hours was my discussion with the universe. I was angry at the universe. And I said, universe, you have no right to do this now. I know you did it because I'm an engineer. I backed everything up and I can't find it. So I know it's your fault. Obviously, it's somebody else's fault. And then I said, do you not realize that there are people here who spend a lot of money to come here, spend a lot of time, and they expect to see me up on stage, actually give them value-added services. You've taken that away from them. And so I was angry. So I was all high and mighty on myself that I'm here for the people. And then something in me, because the energies of Mount Shasta and the Kryon and everything else that's there, something in me inspired me to say, okay, if it's not that, what else could it be? That's where I found the actual prize. And that's what I would advise people to do, is when they actually walk along and experience unwanted events, the first thing we'll do is we'll point out somebody else's fault. They should have behaved differently. But then when you ask yourself, okay, what is it in me that's causing me to experience this? The answer came up. The answer was not that I was afraid of having a bad presentation. I was afraid that if I didn't have a perfect presentation, I wouldn't be accepted by them. And I needed to be perfect, or I would not have them reinforce my self-worth. And that is how that period of questioning maybe took half an hour at that time, actually. And I realized that. And then I was actually on stage and I shared this moment with them. And it was such a connecting moment for me. It was like a vulnerable moment that I experienced because of this epiphany I had, and I shared it with the rest of the crowd. And and it's no surprise that they welcomed that vulnerability. So I don't have to be perfect for anybody. I just have to be heart-centered. And my blemishes or anything that I do wrong are all forgiven by my family, who are all of you here right now.
That is so amazing, because you and Lee are both engineers and have that same mind. And I just want to share, Shamir, that when I was traveling with Lee, he would always have everything prepared in a notebook on a lectern and never stray away from standing at the podium. There was one day where it had disappeared. He had to present without it. And you had the similar situation. How dare this happen to me, Kryon?
Very, very similar.
Yes. And yet it was a thing of trust, getting through that fear, and then it was almost like an expansion happened after that. Is that what you found for yourself? Yeah. You just expand?
Oh yeah. That's exactly what happened to me, and what really helped me kind of get that anchored in was when I was getting off the stage. And one of the things I said to the crowd, I said at that time, I said, I was being invited by the universe to present this without the slides, because the universe, and I said, okay, so I did not accept the challenge. And I'm okay with that. And I went and recreated my slides, and I did that. And as I was coming down the stairs, Lee, I don't know if Lee, you remember this, you were coming up the stairs and says, Shamir, you could have done this by yourself. We'll talk later. And that was like, whoa, okay. And it kind of anchored something in me to say, I am worthy. Again, I was still in that mode of somebody else needs to validate me in order for me to do that. And so I'm becoming a lot better at that every time I recognize it, because it's now in my consciousness. It was hidden before. I had no idea why I was reacting the way I was. But now I know whenever a situation like that happens, I got it. I know exactly what to do. I know exactly how to reprogram my body and then start kind of playing big. And that's what I've been kind of doing on that. Thank you for that example. I didn't know that about what happened to Lee there. That's beautiful.
That's right. Yeah. Well, you're a master at getting out of anxiety. And of course, your heart math is giving you a lot of that. But touch just briefly now, you really do walk into worlds. You've got the esoteric world and the help that you give spiritually, and then you also have the CEOs and business owners. Tell me, let's talk about that.
Well, interestingly enough, before I used to separate the two. I have two websites. I separate the two because, I don't want the corporate people to know that I'm doing this other stuff, and I don't want, I don't want these people knowing what I'm doing there. And so that's the way I was walking until I met, I went back to the industry, and I sat down with somebody who used to report to me, and he's now a vice president in a multi-billion-dollar corporation. And we were having coffee, and before we even began, he says, Shamir, I have to thank you. And I said, tell me more. He says, whenever we had a meeting, and when I was reporting back to you back, in 2014, 2013, you would always start the group meetings by saying, share with me a good news event that happened with you. Now, in my spiritual teachings at that time with a different group, different Kryon areas, I would talk about gratitude moments. But I brought it to the corporate world, and I just said, well, what do you have to be thankful for? And he said to me, he says, I never really understood why you were doing that. I thought it was just a bunch of stuff, right? He's an engineer. And he says that it was just like, I was just spewing out things because I didn't. But he says, when I got promoted, he was a manager, now he's a vice president. He says, when I do that, there's some powerful things that are happening around the meeting room. People are becoming more open. They're connecting deeper with each other. And that was a light bulb moment for me to say, you know what? Every individual that goes into the business world, it doesn't matter whether you're a vice president or, an administrative person or a janitor or whoever in that spectrum of people, doesn't matter who you are. There's a spiritual side of you that needs to be nurtured and nourished. And maybe the language that we use, it can be more corporate-y. Like change management is another thing. Change management is all about cultural changes and human changes. That's where the mindset comes in. That's where people's spirituality comes forward. Their values come forward. And so I walked the two worlds until now, and I've started to blend the two worlds. And I'm not afraid of stepping into this particular arena and the corporate world and offering them services to help them manage change and help people become more connected together. And that's where emotional intelligence comes in, my body of work in emotional intelligence. Heart math, of course, is well accepted in the business world, as is the concept of change management. So all of those things are now coming together, and now I think we're ready. I feel like this is why I was brought to this earth. This very moment is to share this and lovingly go and help spread this, because it's not for them. I've realized this. I'm not doing it for others. I'm doing this because I want to live. And I truly believe that if I do not express my creativity, I basically will die. There's no reason for this human body to exist other than in service and to fuel my passion. And so maybe it's selfish for me to say it's fueling my passion, but my output is there. And if people want to receive it or not, I no longer hold a limiting belief that they must receive it in a certain way for me to feel good about myself. I just feel good about myself by doing that. And I'm working on that particular, overcoming that belief system, and it's working really well for me now.
Oh, I can see it has. I'm just blown away by everything you've shared. I love catching up. I want to just track back because you said step 1 was heart coherence, and then what's the hidden belief, and then you said that was 1 of 4. And now my brain goes, what are the other 3?
Right. Sorry.
I'm not letting you off the hook.
Okay. So step 1 is actually self-awareness, and you get that self-awareness through connecting heart and mind. Step 2 is actually replacement. Once you've identified the belief system has come to the fore, you identify a belief system that's opposite. So for me, the belief system that said that others must accept me in order for me to accept myself. So my statement would have been, I believe others must accept me before I accept myself. And when I say it out loud, it sounds stupid, but I actually had to state it to say, oh my God, okay. And it actually connected the neural pathways in here saying, okay, this belief system does not serve you right now. Okay, so it actually, when I actually stated the belief system as the way I was experiencing it, it was more of a conscious epiphany and neural pathways are triggered. Then I made the exact opposite of that. Is I am enough. I am creative, expressive, and I believe in myself with all the flaws and all the blemishes, all the mistakes. I am enough. I believe I am enough. And as soon as I did that, anytime I had an unwanted experience, and that's a second stage, is now you go through life looking for these gifts. Whenever you have an unwanted experience, I am enough. Just bring that back. And as soon as you bring that back, the neural pathways start rewiring that way. And that's neuro-linguistic programming, really. And then after you've done that, then what you do is you establish it from, now it's a law of attraction is the next stage. The law of attraction basically says, now you believe and you actually say, thank you for me feeling like I'm fully accepted as who I am. I'm so I'm so happy and grateful now that I feel connected despite everybody else's reaction. That's a gratitude statement that really kind of becomes me embodying this thing. And then the last step is actually now playing big. So playing big is now going back and saying, okay, what goals did I set myself before I embarked on this particular process? And then now that I'm feeling in this way, what goals am I setting for me now? And if the goals that I'm setting for me now do not scare me, you're playing in that comfort level. You have to break through. Lee, I know how hard it was for you and Monica to move to the Healing Wednesdays into a new format. I mean, it's not easy. You made it look easy, but I know that there was something that was percolating here. Same as me, you know, there's a lot of things, and everybody, especially light workers that are listening to this right now, light workers that are listening to this right now have a special place in my heart, and I know they do in your heart, because they're out there actually working on themselves like I am working on myself, and they're there in a position of healing others, whether they're healing by just sitting there in high vibration, or they're actually healing others by supporting them and doing that. And I have this, you know, this special connection with people who do that. And so I want to share this process. Aiming high is a very important step in actualizing your true potential, because where you want to go as individuals, where I want to go, I've never been before. That means it's an unknown space. It means it is greater than what I did last year, which means it's different and it's going to be uncomfortable. But the belief system will come in very handy there. So that's really the 4 kind of stages that I outlined in my self-paced program.
Beautiful. And I want to just ask a question, because often when we say goals, and Kryon talks about, that's almost like a different way of thinking, because spirit trusts in synchronicity. So how do you explain that difference between setting a goal or having a goal, or instead surrendering to spirit, bring me this or something better?
Absolutely. A good question, Monica. So I always say, surrender the how, not the what. The what is what you want to feel like. what you want to experience. To me, that's my goal. My goal is to actually
Perfect.
connect with people all over the world. That's my, and the how, that's not my job. That's their job. My job is to continue to embody and fall in love with the prospect of the what. And that's how I kind of distinguish between, the left brainers or corporate people. I want to set a 90-day goal and put that together, and then you don't sway from that. I like to bring a different twist to this. I say, okay, what is it that you want to feel like when you get to that point? What do you visualize? And then your goal is that or better. And then you let the universe bring people into your lives and allow you to do that. And that's how you do it very quickly.
I can see exactly why you're walking between both worlds of corporate and spiritual. That answer conveyed it all. Yeah, absolutely. Now, how do we unravel issues that keep coming up and we just can't seem to break through? Because that happens as well. We have awareness, we try and we do it, but it keeps repeating and we can't unravel it.
Yes, very good point. And again, that is one of those things. The celebration in that particular instance is that you're recognizing there's a pattern. So once you're recognizing there's a pattern in a particular aspect of your life, and there's a quiz that I've offered, which is free, and it shows you the different areas of life. But you're recognizing a pattern in your life, and then you just don't know what to do after that. And so the point there, that's a tipping point where you, my body feels comfortable. For example, a human body feels comfortable being in that space of known, because I know what that feels like. Having that unwanted experience is less scarier than having an experience that's different. Because in our kind of psyche, we're thinking a different experience may be worse. It may be the worst of two devils. And so the idea there is to accept the fact that I do not want that experience. Until you hit a point of strong motivation, you're not going to create enough energy, enough vibration for the universe to help you break through. And this is where I personally experienced myself when I got frustrated at the universe again. It's always the universe's fault, right? Never my fault. But whenever I get frustrated at the universe and I throw a tantrum like a child and I get angry and I say, I've had enough, doors open up. So what we do is people know when they're ready to change and break out of that belief system when they have enough energy. It's the sympathetic push out of the body of your autonomic nervous system that says enough. And then there's this power that moves forward. So to me, that's the first step, is when you're really tired of this, then you want to move forward. Some people who experience repeating patterns, they wear that as a badge of honor. Oh, here it is. I never get ahead. I never get ahead. I never get ahead. Or I'll never make enough money as Joe or Sandy. And they wear that as a badge of honor without knowing that they're wearing it as a badge of honor. They wear it as a badge of honor, saying, this is why I'm not getting ahead. Whereas if they said, I've had enough, I can't have this happen, I want to change, and really mean it, like feel it in every cell of your body. And this is the process. You would actually open up synchronicities around that. And, we don't have the time to get into what mechanism or process you use, because that is the heart math process and the emotional intelligence process to help, and neurolinguistic process that's blended together to break you out of that very easily and quickly.
Absolutely. We could spend another 2 hours on going through these techniques, but I just want to quickly mention your website, which is a very short one. And I'm going to tell it now. It's ignitefromtheinsideout.com.
Without the duh.
Oh, ignitefrominsideout.com.
One word.
So, yes, and that is exactly what you're doing. You are igniting everyone from the inside out, because the answers are within, but we just need those tools to help us with awareness, shift that belief, anchor in the new experience, and then dream big. Is there any last words you want to share?
I do want to share something. So the one thing that people need to be aware of, and I found this out, and it didn't make me any happier, but you'll never, ever get rid of a limiting belief or a series of, it'll be replaced, but the belief that I replaced my limiting belief with will become limiting at some point, because when I reach a particular area, level of my life, that limiting belief will hold me at that level. until I break into the new level. So I have to replace that limiting belief. So all beliefs that we have, some of them which may be limiting, that you break through and replace, it may become limiting in the future and maybe not now, just like I experienced in my corporate world. So I wanted to share that with people. It's a continual spiral that you go through, and that's what keeps us moving. It's that the limiting, the actual the yin and the yang is what is the engine behind everything that happens in the universe. Your heart pumps and draws blood. That's a yin and the yang action. That's a masculine, feminine action. If you don't have movement happens through polarities. If you don't have that movement happening, well, you're dead. And that's exactly what I said, is that if I did not have this passion to drive and then the obstacles to overcome, I would not be having that universal physics basis to move forward.
Beautiful. You just described duality and why we are here.
And also the fallacy of why can't everything just stop and nothing happens to me?
And be perfect. And everything be perfect.
No, you'd probably be dead, actually. So I love that whole example.
Yes.
And thank you so much, Shamir.
Thank you, Shamir. Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you, everyone, for having me here. Appreciate it very much.
Oh, so beautiful. So we're going to take a 10-minute break, and then we'll see you back here for the Circle of 12.